April 16th, 2025, RVSD regular board meeting to order. May I have a roll call, please, Christina?
Director Meggs,
Here.
Director Kelly,
Here.
Director Silla,
Here.
Director Gaffney,
Present.
Director Borstein.
Here.
Thank you. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now I'd like to adjourn us to closed session. All right, I'd like to reconvene us to open session and report out that the board agreed to initiate an alternative dispute resolution process during our closed session. I'd like to move to approval of agenda and suggest that we move our formerly GovInvest, can't remember the new name, person, but mostly remember Ira, up so that we can have his presentation first. Is that all right with the board?
Second. That's item 12 for the record.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So we will go to the item that is 12 in our board packet, consideration of accepting the FY 2024 defined benefit pension and OPEB actuarial reports as presented, and discussion on the district's retirement obligation funding plans. We did look at this at the finance committee meeting. Sorry, we haven't done our finance report out yet, but looks like Victor's going to walk us through something.
Yes, I'd like to have Victor Damiani, our Chief Finance Officer, introduce the item.
We only think about that once a month.
Good evening to the chair and the board. I'm really just going to introduce the item. We do have Ira here to get into a little bit more detail, but like you said, he went in great detail at the finance committee. So this will be an abbreviated report a little bit. We're just looking at our liabilities as they relate to our pension plans and our OPEB, which is our retiree healthcare. The board did implement Section 115 trust for both of those plans in 2014 for the OPEB plan and in 2020 for the pension plan. So we're going to just check in with those plans and see where they stand and how those savings in those trust funds are affecting our funded, the amount we have funded for our liabilities. At the end of the item, what staff is requesting is just to accept these reports, but also to give some budget direction for the 2026 budget season, which is we're bringing a draft to you next month. So we're working on that now, and we're asking for some direction as far as using some of the 115 trusts for our pension costs in the coming year. But with that, I will turn it over to Ira Summer, who was with TrueComp, which was formerly GovInvest.
All new backpacks.
Yeah, I think the best part of having our name change is them giving us swag that we have. So I have a fancy new backpack and trying to remember the company name so I can stare at it.
Do you have one of the little badges?
What?
Yeah.
Do you want an RVSD badge?
Ooh, nice. Okay. Anyway, thanks for having me here. I'm going to start with the pension. The PowerPoint that I have here is the one that I went through with financial committee. We're going to skip over parts of it, but if there's anything that you have questions about, just ask me the questions as we're going along. Happy to go back if I need to, but the presentation, the basics of this are the same as they've been for the last few years. And I've been talking to you about this for the last few years. The thing is, I only bring it up once a year. So you get to spend 364 days trying to forget everything that I told you. And so it's there in case you need it. But let's skip ahead to the comparison section if we can. Yep. Yeah, this is important, but we're going to go over it. So let's start with how your plan is doing in relation to other plans across the state. Now, we could do this based on two metrics. The funded percentage, that is the assets that you have at CalPERS divided by your liabilities. And this is all calculated as of June 30, 2023. Now, the reason that we do it as of June 30, 2023 is because that's the date of the most recent actuarial valuation report released by CalPERS. They released the June 30, 2023 valuation reports in end of July 2024. Those reports are used to determine the contribution you are required to make to CalPERS in the upcoming, the 25-26 fiscal year. So those are the most recent reports. We've got data from all the agencies that are in CalPERS across the state. So that's the first metric, is how well funded you are. How close to being on target are you compared to others? The second metric is your funded percent, is your contribution percentage. So we take your required contribution to CalPERS and we divide it by pay, so that we have a metric that is similar for all agencies. So it's not just you're small, you pay less, and big agencies pay more, but we do it as a percentage of payroll. And this is for the upcoming 25-26 year. On the next page, we show that the contribution is a combination of normal costs. That's a cost for each year of service as it's earned. And you pay that as a percentage of pay throughout the year, each pay period, plus an amortization payment, something to catch up to the extent that you're behind target, less than 100% funded. There is a fixed dollar amortization payment that you make to CalPERS. Quick note, your agency tends to make that payment early in the fiscal year, in July of each year. And by doing that, you get a discount from CalPERS. They give you a discount of half a year's interest. So you save 3.4% interest by making that payment each year. Smart move on your part. And that's one of the steps that your staff takes to try and control costs throughout the year. The combination of that normal cost plus amortization payment is your required payment to CalPERS. That's the minimum amount you're allowed to pay to CalPERS. They are happy to take more of your money if you want to send it in that direction. Next slide. When we do the comparisons, we try and compare you against similar groups. So you are miscellaneous plans, meaning you're not police, you're not fire. So we compare you against other miscellaneous plans. You're also in what CalPERS refers to as the risk pool. That's for small agencies with fewer than 100 active employees in their plan. They created the risk pool because prior to having the risk pool prior to 2013, a small agency who had a little bit of bad luck, one employee might get killed in the line of duty or disabled in the line of duty, and those are very expensive benefits. That would shoot agencies' costs up from being something controllable to something very unreasonable. By sharing this, if one agency happens to be unlucky, it's like having insurance. Everybody shares in those costs. So you're in the risk pool. Your classic plan, the ones for employees hired 2012 and earlier, gets measured against other classic plans. Your PEPR plan for people hired 2013 and later gets measured against other PEPR plans. So what we see here is that your funded percentage, 69.4%, pretty much in the middle of where things are. It looks like it's a little bit behind. The average is in the low 70s, about 71, 72%. So you're slightly behind where the average plan is, but not much. So you're really right close to where the bulk of agencies are throughout California. On the next slide, what we see is your contribution rate, 44%, is also right in the middle of what we see for classic plans throughout the state. So if you're funded, so you're going to end out having a reasonable contribution on that level. For the PEPR plan, you are 86% funded. You'll notice almost everybody is between 85 and 90, and that's where you are. Not a surprise. Everybody has the exact same pension formula. They started the exact same time. They're all making the same contributions. They all have sharing in the same investment experience, and you're part of a pool. So you should be where everybody else is. There are a few agencies that stuck extra money in, and they're the little tiny ones you see over there, the over 95%, but pretty much everybody's in the same place. And your contributions, likewise, 8.5%, right in the middle of where we see on the PEPR plan. So overall, while you may not be excited about where you are in the funding and everything else, you're in the bulk of where everything is. Now, by the way, I skipped over very quickly. This just takes into account the money you have with CalPERS. It does not include the money you have in the 115 trust. CalPERS doesn't have it. There are not a lot of agencies in California who have 115 trusts like yours. So if we take that into account, you're going to be doing better than what it shows throughout this. We can show you how your funded percentage improves with that, but not necessarily how it compares to everybody else. But it definitely moves you into the higher percentiles because of that. So this is all as of June 30, 2023. What's happened since then? Well, the thing that has the biggest impact on your funded percentage are investment returns. In the year ending June 30, 2024, CalPERS announced an investment return of 9.3%. Solid investment year. The next slide shows investment returns on a year-by-year basis for the last 40 years. Now, a few things about this very quickly. First of all, the numbers that show here are the numbers that CalPERS announces in July of each year. They're the numbers that show up at the report when they show their history. They're not exactly the numbers that get credited to you throughout the year in the next valuation. These numbers actually get adjusted a few months later to take into account their private equity exposure and their private debt. That 9.3, don't cheat. Yeah, that 9.3 jumps up to 9.5 when you take into account the private equity returns. But they charge an administrative fee of 10 basis points, 0.1%. So you'll get credited 9.4%. So again, that's higher than the 6.8 that's assumed. So that's a good year. More money from the contributions. Investment return means less money required from contributions down the road. Now, a couple things I want to focus on here. The big one, 2022. 2021, great year. The 21.3, when they actually took into account the private equity, turned up to 23.4. That was a great year. They followed that up in 2022. And again, it wasn't necessarily their fault. With shows minus 6.1, that became a minus 7.5. 2022, every single asset class lost money. So there was no place for them to hide their money. It wasn't a bad performance on their part. But now when CalPERS does better or worse than what they assume, they don't charge you right away the full cost of that difference. They phase that in over a 5-year period, what they call a ramp up for a bad return. So when they made less money, they were supposed to make 6.8. They made minus 7.5. That's a 14.3% difference. That shortfall gets phased in over a 5-year period. So what you're going to see when we see contributions is you're going to see the contributions stepping up during that time period and increasing dramatically because of that shortfall in contributions. So some of it's going to come back with a slightly better year, but 9.4 over 6.8, that is a 2.6% difference. That's not going to match up with the 14.3% loss they had in that year. Now, the other thing that's going on, next slide, we show, more money. So the other thing, skip over this one, skip over that one. The other thing that's going on is that, as was mentioned before, you created a pension 115 trust. I know when we were first talking about it, you were talking about making contributions each year, but you decided to stick just $7 million in right away because you had it in your budget, and you've been letting that grow and using it periodically. So in the 23-24 year, you didn't make any additional contributions. You did use some of the money to make your amortization payment at the beginning in July of each year, again, saving you money. So for cash flow purposes, you were able to use that money and take advantage of it and save money on the general fund. The nice thing about money in the 115 trust is that it is used, it's got to be used to make pension payments, but when you use it and how you use it is at your discretion. So it's a rainy day fund. And some agencies use it for cash flow purposes like this. Some agencies use it when something goes wrong, revenues drop down, and they use it to make their contribution payments for those years. Some agencies will use it, hold on to it to get to 100% funded faster and just move all the money over when that happens. So there are a lot of flexibility as to what you do. The fact that you've set it aside is a good thing, a smart thing, and it gives you the flexibility sometime over the next few years to discuss how you want to use it and how you want to direct staff to better use your 115 trust. So next slide. Your total amounts as of June 30, 2024, totaled about 7.9 million in the two. 2/3 of your money gets put into strategy one, 1/3 of it gets put into strategy two each year. Strategy one is a little more aggressive. It's strategy one's conservative. Strategy two is really conservative. But because the returns were so solid in the year, strategy one got an 8.7% return. Strategy two got a 6% return. If we go to the next slide. So the impact of all these changes. So next slide. So we're going to start by looking at all this without the 115 trust. And we have two lines here. The green line is where we expected things to be going just in the 2023 valuation, based on the 2023 valuation report, if all future experience matched what was assumed. The red line is taking into account the better return in 2024. You'll notice more money, that the unfunded liability is going down by about $600,000 because of that better return. What we were going to see in the 2023 report is your unfunded liability staying relatively stable over the next few years, just staying around 10 million before coming down. The reason it wasn't coming down faster initially is because of that phase in, that ramp up of contributions. You weren't paying the full cost of that big investment loss. So you were basically just covering interest on the total liability, not really making up much ground. You're going to make up a little more ground, but it's going to happen slowly over the next few years before starting to accelerate after that. In terms of funded percentage, that sort of flips this graph around. Next slide. And shows that you're going to go up by about 1.74% based on those higher returns. You're still going to be 70-something% funded, combination of the two plans. Again, pretty close to where most of the agencies are. You're targeted to get to 100% funded in about 2041, where we see a lot of the agencies throughout California. Again, this is without the 115 trust. Now, the way you grow like that is on the next slide, we show your contributions. Notice contributions are growing over the next few years. The green line was showing what they were expected to grow and go all the way up to about 1.6 million. The red line showing where you are. We expect you to be in the 2024 valuations, a little bit lower. Notice the gap between the red and the green spreading out over the next few years. That's showing the phase in of the good year coming in and a bigger and bigger advantage coming from that over the next few years. So you ultimately get about 75,000 a year coming out of that. But it's still expected to go up to about 1.5 million, 1.6 million over the next 5 or 6 years. The next slide shows why. It's a combination of your normal cost. Again, the cost for each year of service as it's earned. That's the orange over here. Now, it's staying relatively steady over the next decade or so. And the reason it's doing that, it grows as your payroll grows, but your population is a combination of people in the old classic plan, people hired 2012 and earlier, and new hires coming in the PEPRA plan, which is a less expensive plan, less costly for the district. So as that population's shifting, it balances off the payroll increases and the normal cost stays steady. But the purple, the unfunded liability payment, you could see it stepping up over the next few years. And that's showing the 2022 investment loss being phased in over that 5-year period. So that's the step up that we see. You pay 20% the first year, 40% the next, 60% the year after, 80%, and 100% the full cost of all of it. So that's what's happening with your contributions over time. This is all without the 115 trust. Next slide, we start talking about with the 115 trust. Now, with the 115 trust, next slide, we show the next slide. The orange line here is without the 115 trust, the numbers you saw before. The blue line is with the 115 trust. And we're assuming it's just going to stay in the trust for now till you take an action to do otherwise. You'll notice with the 115 trust, you get to 100% funded in 2027. So, and the next slide, we show that instead of being 70 something percent funded, you're 90% funded with the 115 trust right now. So that puts you above most agencies throughout California in a much more solid position. Just a quick heads up. In the first 6 months of this fiscal year, CalPERS did relatively well on their investments. They were about 5.5% up through December. As of last week, the last time I checked, that dropped down to about 1%. You may not have noticed something's happening in the market.
That'll bounce back.
Yeah, someday. So it would not surprise me if CalPERS ends the year at about 0. And if they do end the year about 0, they're expecting 6.8. That's a shortfall. You're going to see another step up come on top of this until things do turn around and kick back in, and we start to see the good news, which will phase back down. I think that, and again, the contributions don't change until you move the money over. So I think that's the end of the pension portion. So questions? Yes, of course.
Well, I love this. I love the funded percentage with trust. It really looks like on this chart that we're 100% as of this year.
Let's go back to the picture so we can see it, because I don't need to.
It gets really close, but there is a gray line.
It's over 90%.
Yeah.
It looks like it's over the line to me, or 98. Just saying, that's a nice little.
Right,
It's a nice little chart. I like that chart a lot.
It's definitely in the high 90s.
Yeah.
At this point.
And so the other question I had is, you want to bet $1 that we'll have about a 8% gain this year?
Do you know something?
That's a no, huh?
You're
People are
optimistic?
panicking. It's fine. It'll be fine.
I don't think that that CalPERS money managers are buying when the market's down and selling and getting out when it's up. So they're going to have to ride the roller coaster that is going on right now.
I have a quick question. I can't find it now, but did I see it 816,000?
Do you have your microphone on?
Thank you. Did I see that we need to pay in $816,000 a year or something of that nature?
860. That is right, isn't that?
816.
The annual amortization.
The amortization payment. Let's go back to about 5 slides back. Slide 29. Yeah.
Okay.
This one. So for the 25-26 year, it's going to be somewhere around that $750,000, $800,000 of unfunded liability payment during the year.
What's the spike there in 43?
Now, and actually go back to that slide for a second before you do that. The slide 29. 29 is after 28. Oh no, did you just delete it?
Looks like those numbers just changed.
You deleted my slide.
Back. No, can you do the?
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
That's 29 again.
A very quick, the 24-25 says the amortization payment is 816,000. So, that's the current year, and the next year is about the same. So, yes.
What's the spike there in like 42, 43?
Oh, go back to, I'm guessing about slide 9. But too much. Go to the 40-year history of next one. Yeah. So in 2021, they had the really strong return.
Right.
And that canceled out a lot of the unfunded liability amortization payments. And that got phased in. That's paid over a 20-year period with the phase in. 2022 had the big loss, almost exactly the same amount in the other direction. So the 20-year period where the 2021 gain is helping you ends in that year, and you just have that 1 year of loss so it's not being offset. And that's why when we go back to slide 29, if it's still there,
I think we have two slide 29s.
yeah, then you'll see that's why it's
Okay.
popping up at that point in time.
Thank you. Good answer.
Yeah, I'm much better giving the truth than making something up. So I'm a terrible liar. I really am. Any other questions? You all are paying way too close attention to all of this.
Are we going to go through OPEB? Or are we?
Yep.
Let's go real quickly through
Okay.
OPEB. It's only a few slides. And just very quickly, the OPEB doesn't have the big structure like CalPERS does. So funding it is all based on what you do and how you do it. So if we go to the third slide here, and this is related to your retiree health plan, what we show is as of the most recent valuation that you've got done. It was for your June 30, 2024 financial statements, but it's also as of June 30, 2023, just like the actuarial valuation report for CalPERS. You had about $500,000 in unfunded liability. You were 75% funded. Your current funding approach is to pay the benefits from the general fund and stick an additional $280,000 into the 115 trust. You're doing that until the way your board policy is do that until you hit 100% funded. Once you hit 100% funded, you're going to flip that around a little bit. You're going to go down to make a contribution similar to CalPERS, where it's a normal cost plus amortization payment. And if you're 100% funded, there's no amortization payment. So it's going to drop your cost down. And you're going to start paying your benefits from the trust. You're setting it aside to cover your liabilities, to cover the benefits, and then you're going to start using it at that point once you filled it up to the right level. So you're about $51,000 in actual payments. There's another $50,000 number here, which is basically a bookkeeping number. The implicit subsidy takes into account the fact that older people use more healthcare than younger people. And look, at this point, I get hurt just watching my kids exercise. So it is, it's just one of those things that happens. So but CalPERS charges the same thing for everybody, no matter what your age is. So there's really a hidden subsidy in there. And the retirees, all older, and the employees on average, younger. So you're actually paying a little bit more, even though CalPERS is extremely cost-effective retiree health coverage. So that hidden subsidy, the Accounting Standards Board says they want to see that on your financial statements. So that's what the number is to show up in your financial statements, but there's no real money involved in this. So it's just a bookkeeping item. Go down, next slide. By the way, solid return, 6.3% for the year ending June 30, 2023. Not much change in the assumptions. Just a reminder, you have a bifurcated benefit structure. You have your basic benefits that the district pays for. And those were set earlier. You have to be 55 with 20 years of service, retire directly from the district. And it ends when somebody hits Medicare eligibility. And it's a lower benefit. It's a combination of what's referred to as the PEMCA minimum, which is the least amount you can pay at $100-something a month towards the premium. That is, in order to be part of PERS Health. Plus you pay 40% of the difference of that in the full premium. Next slide. The employees had, through a collective bargaining agreement, said they want better benefits and they'll pay for the rest of it. So that rest of it is, instead of at 55 and 20, they're 55 with 5 years of service. It doesn't just stop when they hit age 65 in Medicare, it continues on after that point. And the amount that gets covered is not just 40%, but it goes up to 50, 75, or 100%, depending on how long they've been working for the district. The funded status takes into account all the liabilities for both plans, but the contributions to pay for that extra benefit come from the employees. And every 2 years, a full valuation is done, and the amount that the employees are charged gets adjusted so that they're paying the full cost. And we track the amount of money that came in towards those extra benefits and the benefits that get paid out under those enhanced benefits. So go to the next slide. We talk about how we do it. By the way, the amount have been coming down across time as more of the unfunded liability is getting paid off and it's being spread over slightly more employees. The rate's been coming down across time. Not really sure where it's going to be going, but the next adjustment will be effective January 1, 2026. Let's skip over the slides that show more money coming in than the money going out, which should not be a surprise. Let's go to, the funding status. We already talked about the fact that you put in 280,000 plus the benefit payments, and you're going to shift it. So here we are. Next slide. Slide after. So we show here, the red are the combination of district and employee contributions. The district's been paying 280,000. The employee's been paying 70 to 80,000 each year. The purple are the benefit payments you've been paying out. We expect the plan to hit 100% funded effective June 30, 2025. Now, you're not going to see that until the valuation report for that year comes out, which will be coming out sometime in 2026. So the first year that you're going to stop making that additional payment is the 26-27 year. And what happens, you can see right here, your contribution going to be pretty much disappearing, and just the employees 70,000 is going to be kicking in and continuing on. So yours is going to drop down dramatically to just the normal cost, which is going to be about 80,000 instead of the combination, which right now is close to the $350,000, $400,000. Next slide. Here you should see the funded percentage, green, showing you're projected to get above 100% funded with the June 30, 2025. When it does, as of June 30, 2025, again, you're going to see that in sometime in 26. And the funded percentage on the next slide shows the opposite of that, hitting 100% funded at the same time. So you're in good shape. You've been doing a great job funding this plan. Most agencies in California who have retiree health plans still haven't even started funding their plans. And those that have, very few of them are at 100% funded. So for this plan, you are in much better shape than most agencies. You've been extremely responsible about this. And you should be able to give yourselves a pat in the back for doing a great job. And hopefully the market doesn't crash and lose it all.
These figures need to be put in our annual report to the state. These charts, I think, should be in our annual reports to state, right?
Are you talking about like the annual comprehensive financial report? Got it. Thank you.
Okay, I think that was the last of these slides. So
Any questions, board members?
No, I think this is what we were expecting to hear. This is what we planned out. This is our strategy. It's working perfectly.
And we do have a decision to make. We have a decision to make about.
Fiscal year 2024 defined benefits, pension, and OPEB actuarial reports as presented, and direct the staff to use CEPPT 115 trust funds to pay pension cost benefits in fiscal year 2026, and direct staff to budget a 280,000 contribution to the district's OPEB plan in fiscal year 2026.
Tom, are you okay with that? Or do you agree with this proposed plan? Okay. He's the one who could pick it apart if there was anything to question.
Well, I did want to note that when we started extra funding, it was in the range of $640,000. We've put in, I can't find that page, a lot of money, right? And it's higher now than it was. But that's because we instigated the enhanced benefit plan. Is that right? If we hadn't done that, and that is funded by employees, we're pre-funding it, they're going to catch up. So that's our plan.
Yeah.
And so we didn't say we were going to fund 280,000 a year forever.
Mhm.
We said we'd kickstart the thing
Right.
to get it down. Okay.
Do you
that's
want
our-
to second the motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you, Ira.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ira. I stepped out. Did you do open time?
Thank you, Ira.
No,
Okay.
we skipped straight to that. So now we'll come back.
Director Silla.
Yeah.
Point of information, Tom Edwards, who is doing the root control presentation, is online if we wanted to amend the agenda again.
Are you okay with that? Okay.
I'd move to adjust the agenda to
All right.
allow for that.
4 people listening, is that? Okay. So we got to ask about public comment.
Okay. Yeah, we will. All right. So now we're amending our agenda to go to item 13. Thank you, Michael.
I moved that. Do I have a second? Do we have a second?
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 13 is informational presentation regarding district use of sewer line route control. Thank you.
Good.
Excited.
Yes, we have Paul here and a guest. I would just I'll introduce the item. This year we started root foaming as one of our tools in the toolbox to maintain our system, and it involves using a chemical agent like a pesticide. And just what we've done so far is a pilot project. In December, we treated 41 lines. And then recently another 55 lines. So on the order of about 100 lines out of our 5,500 lines. So small percentage, very targeted. This year so far, 25,000 feet, a little less than 5 miles of our system, our 200-mile system. So it's a targeted effort. And then looking ahead, it appears to be a similar level of effort we probably propose going forward. But then I want Paul Brummer, our operation maintenance manager, to give a little insight into what we're seeing so far with this pilot program. And then we wanted the board to hear from our vendor, Duke's Root Control, about the nature of the process and all the safety measures that are in place for health and environmental protection. So first I'll hand it over to Paul.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. As Steve stated, the use of the root control foam has been very targeted. We are working in regards to our high frequency cleaning initiative to help reduce high frequency cleaning lines. And part of that is reducing roots and other issues in those high frequency lines, as well as CCTV data and flushing debris capture. So we're really utilizing all of our information that we're getting from field and the staff, the CCTV data, the flushing schedule, the flushing debris capture, and we're correlating that into problem spots in our system with heavy roots, a lot of bad joints, and a lot of these lines are in heavy easements. So it really saves staff time by controlling the roots and adjusting the flushing program to better fit the district needs and make sure we're cleaning properly and not wearing out our pipes by just flushing every 6 months. It does do a lot of wear and tear on the pipes, the patches we put in, and all the other work we've been doing out there. So like Steve said, it is a good tool in the toolbox. After the first round, we waited 4.5 months to go back and CCTV to see the effectiveness. We are seeing good effects. There's a couple small minimal regrowths of roots in the pipes, but overall, they seem to be holding good after 4.5 months, which is a really good sign. Every time we root foam a week ahead of time, we notify CMSA so that the plant can do special sampling to see if there's any effects on the treatment plant. I've talked with Mark multiple times and we've seen no effects with use of the chemical. And I'm sure Tom will go over some of this stuff, but it is EPA approved, California EPA approved, and I believe Marin County approved. San Rafael uses it. We're currently using it.
Nevada.
And Nevada. Yeah, there's a list in the presentation. There are a lot of Bay Area districts and sewer systems are using it. Like I said, we're not going through and foaming our whole system. This is very targeted, about 100 lines. And we're trying to do it to the benefit of the district to make sure that we're treating the system correctly and at the right dosage. And with that, is there any questions? Yeah, Tom will fill you in.
So we'll let
He's
Tom
got a
do
lot
the
of good
presentation
info.
online?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, hello. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you very much for the invitation to talk to you about chemical root control, better known as root foaming. If we could start, thank you, Christina. First of all, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the Pacific Regional Manager for Duke's Root Control. I have a BS degree in plant and soil science, and the state. I also have a state license called a Pest Control Advisor license in the plant growth regulator category. The Pest Control Advisor license is the highest recognition of a pest control professional that the state offers. I also have a qualified applicator license for sewer line root control, which is the actual a license that allows me to apply pesticides to sewers. And then I've been with Duke's almost 30 years. And I also, as you are, I was a former elected sanitary district board member, and I think I bring a unique perspective to the industry, having been elected by the residents of my community.
When was that?
That was in 1996. I served one term at the Castro Valley Sanitary District.
Oh, Castro Valley.
Oh,
Yes. All right, Christina, please. So Dukes, we've been around a long time. We've been around for 75 years, 40 years doing chemical root control. We've treated 450 million feet of sewer pipe, and we have over 2,000 customers across the country. So we're a national company and working in approximately 46 states, I believe. So people often say to me, why should I use chemicals in the sewer? We're doing fine with our mechanical equipment. But like Paul said, usually it's used in the most severe circumstances. And we consider it being part of an IPM program. If you folks are knowledgeable about pest control and IPM, IPM doesn't say that not to use chemicals. It just says to use it targeted and use it on the worst case scenario. And so that's what we recommend to people, is to bring us in for those easements and those really difficult access situations. Doing chemical root control, as Paul mentioned, is going to help extend pipe life because the mechanical cleaning does exact a lot of wear and tear on pipes. Using chemical root control is also more effective. We're getting 2 to 3 years of service, obstructed service out of sewer lines by doing chemical root control. So pipes that you guys are cleaning on a 6-month cycle would now become a 2-year cycle, which of course is less of a problem in terms of bothering your residents and blocking streets and that sort of thing. Our equipment is smaller, and it's able to access problem areas much easier. And we also would like to tout the fact that by us doing these really wooded easements, we help protect your employees. We keep them free from poison oak patches and ticks and things like that that could be, that could affect their health. Lastly, a big benefit of doing chemical root control or root foaming is we pump this foam into the sewer, and it goes the path of least resistance. So it also goes up the service laterals, and the connection and maybe the first 5 feet of pipe, the roots are treated and killed, so that those roots sometimes that grow from the laterals become mainline obstructions, and this helps you to prevent that where mechanical cleaning devices wouldn't. Okay, Christina. So as Steve mentioned, we are registered. It's not called an approval, it's called a registration. We go through a very intense process similar to what drugs go through at the FDA as far as uh, or obtaining a registration for our product. It has to be tested. We have to provide toxicology data. It's a very long process, several years. We are also registered in California, and we are registered at the Marin County Agriculture Commission's office. And as Paul mentioned, we communicate at every application with the Central Marin Sanitation Agency. The actual ingredient of razor rooter is called diquat dibromide. The concentration is 37.3%. And we mix that diquat dibromide, we mix it in a ratio of 1.5 gallons of 37.3% to 285 gallons of water. Our last job that we did for you guys, I'm sorry, that 300-gallon mixture will treat 4,200 feet of 6-inch pipe. So as I'm trying to point out, a gallon and a half of 37.3% is good for 4,200 feet of 6-inch pipe. Now, it would probably take you up possibly 4,000 gallons of water, depending on how much root is in the pipe, to clean that same pipe that we've been able to treat with a gallon and a half of material. Now you're going to clean that pipe, but that's a 6-month line. So in the 2-year period of our effectiveness, you're going to clean it 4 times. So you're looking at so that's 16,000 gallons of water. So also like to point out that our chemical, the diquat dibromide, has what's called a caution signal word. And what that means, the signal word is the word that identifies its toxicity to the user. And caution is the safest of the 3 signal words. Caution being the safest, warning being the middle, and danger being the least safe chemical that you could use to kill organisms. As far as the kind of PPE that's required, it's minimal PPE. It's spelled out on the label, and the PPE is exactly the same PPE as your sewer workers wear to clean sewers. So it takes no different, there's no more PPE required than that. The diquat dibromide binds tightly to organic matter and has a less than a 48-hour half-life. Okay, Christina? So I'm not sure if everybody's familiar what the term half-life is, but I'll just read this statement. This says chemical breakdown of chemical in water. Since diquat is purposely applied to water to control the growth of aquatic weeds, that's its original use. Its ability to last as an effective residue has been studied carefully. These studies suggest that when diquat is not persistent in water, when diquat is applied to open water, it disappears rapidly because it binds to suspended particles in the water. These particles are taken up by plants. Diquat dibromide's half-life, or the period of time that it usually takes for half of the amount of the material to be broken down by natural processes, is less than 48 hours in water. As affected plants decompose, the absorbed diquat rapidly disappears from open waters. I apologize for the spelling on some of this stuff. So next slide, please. So this statement came from what's called Exonet, and you can look it up on the internet. It's an extension toxicology network that's a project of Cornell, Michigan State, and Oregon State University, and UC Davis. And so it's that's where I got that statement. And often I have to use it because an NGO called Riverwatch is asking all of the sewer agencies in the Bay Area what the half-life of their root foaming material is. Next slide. So again, the chemical root control razor rooter has a 2 to 3 year longevity. We use 300 gallons of water per 4,200 feet. We have a production level of between 3,000 and 7,000 feet per day. And your workers are safe by not having to hike up into those canyons and hillsides and poison oak infested areas and rattlesnakes and all that. And we have a small footprint. Our trucks are very small. We don't block the roads as much as the big Vactors and Vaccons and sewer cleaning trucks do. And the other thing is we don't idle. We don't have diesel idling, which is another issue that sometimes people want to consider when it comes to environmental, the final environmental impact. So this is the example of what the root foam looks like. It fills up the pipe, and the roots tend to grow from the top and the sides of the pipe. They don't lay in the water. And so you have to have a way to get the herbicide to the target. And in the past, they used to just pour it in the water and hope that it would touch a few roots. Well, somebody came up with the idea of let's add a foaming agent. And that way, all the airspace above the flow line where the roots thrive are now contacted by the chemical. Next slide. So just to end the discussion or the conversation on my end, these are some of your local neighbors that use Dukes. And this is just like the ones close by. We have hundreds of customers in California and many in the Bay Area. We have most of our customers tend to be near waterways because of the trouble that you get into if you have a sewer spill into a waterway. And so if you'd like a larger reference list, I'm happy to provide that for you. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thanks very much. That was great. Did
Good.
you want to ask a question, Doug?
First off, I want to thank you for putting up the Contra Costa spill warning instead of one of ours. So appreciate it. Secondly, I'm a little unclear on this. So this foam goes in, it attaches itself to the roots.
Right.
Does it break off the root essentially?
No. So good question. The roots absorb the chemical and then they die and they decay and decompose.
And then
fall off in small pieces.
Okay, so do we have some sort of a follow-up to fill that hole? Because now we have a hole. And now we know we have a hole in the pipe.
So the roots, like you see in this slide right here, tend to grow from the top. And so a hole in the top isn't as critical as a hole in the bottom.
Right.
So
yeah, and usually they're finer joints. Any larger roots that have large holes, we will router them out and patch over them at that point.
Okay. Even a small hole, if the pipe's full of water, it's going to splurt out.
Yeah, no, it's about maybe 1/8 to a 1/16 of an inch of a gap. Usually, I would say we're not talking inches or anything like that.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, thanks for your presentation.
You're welcome.
What I want to know is why are we doing so many and what is the average treatment? If we're not wanting to use this very little, did I hear you say 100?
100 lines, yes.
Yeah, it's a lot for our district, isn't it?
No, we have
5,500 lines.
5,000 lines. It's very minimal overall.
Yeah, so this is hard for me. I've nursed for 40 years, and what I did find is that it's banned in Europe and it's in the UK because it's got really high risk poses. I sure would hate to see anybody get sick from here. And I'm sorry, I probably should have met with you, the owner, prior, but I'm just starting to find out more and more about this chemical. And I don't know what to say, but I think maybe we should try and maybe have some other kind of chemical that's not so deadly. It damages the liver. And I forgot what else.
Well, Pam, just so you know, we don't contact any of it. Our staff don't contact it. They come in on their own with their own crews. They operate the equipment. They operate the foaming.
Oh.
We don't go in at all. Only thing we do is go back 4.5 months later, CCTV it to see the effectiveness and if there's any regrowth. If there is any regrowth, Dukes will come back and refoam those areas for free for us. So we don't contact it. Our staff don't contact it. And like Tom said, after 48 hours, the majority of it's gone.
Okay. Well, being nervous Nelly, I mean, can it back some of the fluid come out when it's put into this pipe? I mean,
no. And again, our staff aren't there, and we don't go back and flush those lines.
Okay.
Because there's no need. We flush them before they come and root from to knock out the majority of the roots, and all the fine roots and whatnot that is left are foamed. And then like I said, we don't go back again for 4 to 5 months after the application.
And how do we educate the people that we're doing this to?
Educate who?
Like let them know what we're doing and possibly they should stay away or for that 48 hours. Are we doing that?
We don't put out any notifications. I mean, we usually don't have homeowners opening them up, and our staff already know because we're involved and it's on the schedule and it's on the map. So they know exactly where we're doing it. And there's no work orders or any service work that needs to be done in those areas after the fact.
Is there anything else that's not so damaging or a risk that another kind of less strong or less?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
If I could offer something, the diquat dibromide, there's only 3 chemicals that are EPA registered for killing roots in sewers, and diquat is the most safe, the safest one available.
I'm sorry if I have to disagree with you. If it's banned in Europe, and I just can't believe that. So
I'm just saying, of the ones that are EPA registered, it is the safest. That's just of the 3.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else.
How do you choose which pipes to do?
We utilize the CCTV data and historical debris capture. So if line maintenance are getting a lot of roots out of that line in their baskets after we're done cleaning it, we'll send the CCTV crew out to see what's going on and see how many consecutive joints have roots. Some of these lines have got like 5-8 spots in them that have got heavy root growth, and we also look at spill counts in those areas. We look at like historical backups, like I said. And we're really utilizing the data really from the high frequency cleaning because we did a lot of CCTV and with that. And now we're moving into some 1-year lines that we found that are heavily rooted, and they regrow pretty quick. By the time we went and CCTV'd after a year, and we had a couple pipes that were almost completely plugged with roots. So we're really just trying to take some of the, take some of the caution out of having spills and being able to treat the cause of it ahead of time, just like we do with grease. We see a lot of grease. We deal with grease management, grease traps. We do inspections. So we're trying to get ahead of some of the problems that are really plaguing us in some spots.
Yeah, but that does speak to the amount of information we have. I was just, we're rehearsing our presentation for next week, which I'll tell you about. And we have 70,000 line cleaning events that we have data on the amount of debris and everything that came out. So when Paul says we review our CMMS, for and CCTV, it's actually an extremely robust amount of data. And so by using that data as a basis for winnowing down and having our high priority, 40 lines that we tried for the first time in December, that was a very targeted group. And they also, as Tom mentioned, tend to be in easements, which are sometimes take a lot of time and effort to, get our equipment in place to do the cleaning. And so that went into this rationale too. So the short list of pipes that we chose for this pilot and then did another run here about a month ago, totaling about 100 lines. That's a very refined, carefully, I guess, curated list of pipes that, there's a lot of reasons why it makes sense to try this tool in those very limited areas.
And there, one last thing I want to note, Pam, I hear your concern, but I do want to let you guys know we are using this very minimally. It's not we're not going through the whole system, just the foam lines. This, again, very targeted, and it's on a case by case basis.
Thank you. Any
But
further?
based on a robust amount of data.
What is the cost?
Oh, go ahead.
I think the whole project overall, it was for the 100 lines, 25,000 feet, it was $47,000.
All right. Thanks very much. Any other questions? Thanks, Tom. Have a good evening.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Now we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled agenda and item number 7, public comment. Is there someone who wishes to make public comment online? Hearing none. Go on to item number 8, committee and representative report out. Finance Committee. Tom, would you like to tell us about the?
Okay, Mary and I met yesterday, and we reviewed the financial report for February 25, and I hope you find these quite readable. And I noticed that on our pension report, we had 7.9 million in our 115 trust. As of right now, we have about 8.2 million in our trust. We did go over a resolution to adopt sewer connection fees for this affordable housing project. And remember, we had an 80% reduction, but we decided that 50% was about our number. And so we think that this is a reasonable amount to deduct, and we support affordable housing. We reviewed let's see, this is also on the consent calendar. We reviewed an exception to our loan limit for lateral replacement. And this fellow at 360 Redwood Road has 400 feet of lateral to replace, and it's going to cost up to $50,000. So we would recommend approving the $50,000 limit on a loan. And we have the money available in our budget. In fact, we'll have $125,000 remaining in our lateral loan program. And then we had a much longer review of our defined benefit pension plan. And I was told to hold back on my recommendation. Oh, no, that was another one. That was the next one. I was told to hold back on my recommendations for the updated district financial policies because we're looking at getting an investment advisor, and he's going to recommend investments. But the other parts of the program are conforming with changes in state law and probably should be approved.
Thank you. CMSA, Doug, do you want to tell us about
Sure.
CMSA?
We revised our fee ordinance. There weren't a lot of changes. For one thing, they're working with petty change, and so we rounded things up to the nearest dollar, so they won't have to give out 27 cents, to somebody. They did require some additional information from the agencies, CMSA, requesting San Rafael, Ross Valley, and Corte Madera to add some supporting documentation, including the permit and capacity fee invoice packet from RVSD, permit receipt and application from SD2, and receipt for sewer connections from San Rafael Sand District. I know that Steve and Jason spoke about that, and I'm sure they'll work it out. There are some alternates to building a huge nutrient removal plant. And so we've added an amendment with Corolla Engineers for $197,828 to provide some more conditional consulting services for nutrient removal alternatives, evaluation, and facility project plans. This is something where a little bit of money now could save us millions of dollars later. So I'm not sure what the results are going to be, but building a huge nutrient removal plant over at the plant is going to cost, $100 million. So anything that we can do to lower the nutrient removal before we have to get to that part would be grand, and I'm supporting it. We did reschedule the July board meeting. San Quentin State Prison Wastewater Services Agreement, that is in progress and things are going on that. So I'm going to just leave that at that for now. Then we had some informational items. So that was about it.
Thank you. North Bay Watershed?
Yes, we met in the American Canyon at their city council chambers. We also had a tour after the meeting of a new facility they have. It was an industrial site along the Napa River wetlands, and it was a maintenance yard. And so they converted it into a lovely, they're still working on it, but almost done, an ecology center for the community. So it was really nice to see how you can take kind of just sort of barren land with a big building and then create something for the community. And they have classes and already going on for the kids. And here is pictures of it. We also had a guest presentation. Drew Gantner, he's the manager of the Water Resources Solano County Water Agency. And they did an overview of Lake Berryessa and the mussel problem. There is a golden mussel that's incredibly invasive. It originated in Asia and China and has found its way to Sacramento, San Joaquin Delta. And actually, it's down to Lake Berryessa, and I believe they have now closed it to boats because that's how it transfers its lovely self. And when they procreate, it's like in the millions, and it's like a 3-month cycle, and they attach themselves to the boats and keeps. Anyway, the problem is that it's difficult for native species, ecosystems, and water infrastructure by clogging water intakes and pipes. So it was fascinating, but it's kind of scary. And I believe in the East Bay, they've closed off drinking reservoirs because of the same problem. So people aren't allowed to use fishing boats in Santa Clara. And we're going to take off the month of May. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Verbal report by General Manager, item number 9.
Thank you, President Silla and board members. Just a couple of things. I mentioned last month that we were going to have our first business breakfast with the other jurisdictions in our service area, and there's just a little handout that we have if you want to peruse it. We had that on March 26th. So the audience, and that was held here in this room, and we give this presentation. This is now an annual event. We started last year, but we'll do another one. This was with Public Works and Planning and Building departments of the different towns and cities in the county. And it was a very productive discussion. And we're going to have another one, I think it's June 4th, with the plumbers, where we outreach to them and remind them of our rules. And also we're updating our standard specifications this year. It's our 5-year anniversary of the last update. And so we're sharing some of those changes and approved materials and that sort of thing. So we think that went real well. I want to thank Felicia and others that have spearheaded that idea. Another thing I'd like to let you know, we hired a new operations supervisor for pump stations. Joe Padilla joins us. This is his first week, and he takes over where Noel left off. You remember Noel Sandoval? We're excited to have him. He brings a load of experience and knowledge from his career at Merced, and so he's relocated to the area and starting anew with us, and we're really pleased to have him. And he's a testament to how successful our recruitments are going these days. And I know that there's a strong recruitment right now for collection system workers that's underway, and pleased to let you know that there's north of 40 applicants. 50, we're over 50 now, and a lot of strong potential candidates to join our team here of high performing collection system workers. Just real quickly, we began construction of the 24-25 gravity sewer project on April 7th. That's going rapidly with our contractor Glossage. They don't waste time. We're moving through the Suffield Rutherford neighborhood west of Butterfield Road. And we're going to hit Sir Francis Drake next week, I think. And we're just going really quickly. Wanted to let you know, you've heard about this, but our presentation was accepted at the CWA annual conference. That's next week. We've been given the prime slot. There's the plenary open session, and everybody gets coffee, and then they go to the first session. That'll be ours. Where the name of our talk is Achieving Efficiency Through Systematic Review and Reduction of High Frequency Cleaning Lines. So my preference in giving talks at statewide audiences is to report on things that are done, not that we're planning to do. And so we really have a great story to tell. And I'm pleased to be joined by Patrick Filippelli, our data management and GIS specialist here, as well as Manny, our repair crew chief, and John Vogel, our condition assessment supervisor. So great team taking down to Palm Springs to show this initiative that's been successful. You know, the upshot is we targeted our 400 high frequency cleaning lines. They're known as hot spots. And that was a year ago. You might remember we showed you a memo in one of the board packets. 1 year later, we are down to 295. So we had 400 high frequency lines. Now it's 295, and we estimate that saves about, let's see, what were the numbers? 16 extra days of cleaning we can do a year, 16, and 5 extra miles that we can clean because we're not doubling up on those lines. So we're telling that story to others and how we went about doing it in a way that is careful. You know, we don't do it just off the desktop. We use our CCTV and repair crew to verify that it's okay to reduce the frequency. So we'll be giving that talk in a week. And that's it with my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Verbal report by board members or requests for future items. Any board members have any verbal reports or requests? All right, seeing none. Consent calendar. Does anyone have anything they'd like to pull off of consent? Here.
Move the consent calendar.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So now we go to item number 14, consideration of adopting updated district financial policies.
Okay. Oh, good. And for this item, we'd like to invite Victor Damiani, our finance officer, to give overview of the proposed changes to the finance policies of the district.
Good evening again to the board. Regarding item 14 in our financial policies, we do like to update our policies and take a good look at them every 3 to 5 years. And the last update was completed in January of 2022. So it's been 3 years. It's a good time to take a look at them. Also, as Tom mentioned, we had some statewide, state level updates that we needed to make. So that was also a good reason for us to make some updates to our policies at this time. The staff report listed all the policies that we made changes on. I'll just call out a few of them. We did add the target funding ratio for the pension plans of 90% or above. So like we talked about earlier, we're around 96% right now, and we want to keep that at least above 90%. We added a new policy for achievements, and that was policy 9. So that's been added in there. In the procurement policy, we had some updates. These were the state level updates that we made for the Uniform Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, and those became effective in January. So we're just sort of catching up to the levels that were implemented at the statewide level in January. And then lastly, I'll mention that we were looking to update some of the purchasing authorities thresholds for some of our different positions. And that's again in the procurement policy number 12. And then as Tom mentioned, there's one policy that we did not update because we're waiting for PFM and asset management, our investment advisor that we're looking to engage with. We would like to bring that back at the time that we're looking to bring them on board so that they can have input as well. So that was just a very brief overview. We did go through this in more detail with the Finance Committee, both yesterday and also in December. So if anyone has any questions about specific policies or want to get into them, we're available.
Thank you, Victor. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Looks like you have something to say.
Well, I
Tom.
think real key is that looking at the guiding principles of our financial planning. It's really what everything is based on. And basically, one of the changes is that the emergency reserve, it used to be 2 million or what was it? Or 10%. Yeah, or 10% of our operating fund, but we're just going to hold it at 2 million, which I think is clearer for everybody. And, everything else is, I think the major changes are conforming with state law or changes in state law.
Yeah, we reviewed these in finance somewhat and all looks very straightforward. So thank you, staff, for your time spent on it. May I have a motion to adopt the attached financial policies?
I move that we board adopt the attached financial policies,
Thank you.
knowing that probably they're going to change with input from the
Investment advisors.
Investment advisor.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. Item 13A,
Thank you, Victor.
Polly.
Good evening again.
Sorry, I'm sounding very familiar, but I heard Felicia call Paul Polly, which it never even occurred to me. And so,
It's very common,
okay,
but all right.
it sounds diminutive and you're not a diminutive guy, but what would you like to highlight for us?
Good
tonight,
evening
Paul?
again. I won't keep you guys long. First off, I'd like to start off, March was a no spill month. So that's a good start to the meeting. I want to highlight that. Staff received HASCOM and GHS Cal OSHA training, which is chemical handling, chemical treatment, SDS safety data sheets for a lookup if there is an incident, chemical in the eye, what to do, and that kind of stuff. So staff got full training on HASCOM training. The pump crew, staff finished up the long-awaited project. We finished pump station 14, 24, 25 rehab, and we had made a couple little last adjustments where the 3 pumps pump into a discharge header and then out to one system or another. That's pump station 25 has 2 force mains, so you can either send all the flow one way, all the flow the other way. In this project, there's enough room at the end of the header to where we could put a knife valve in the middle. So now we have the option to send 1 pump up past the Marin General Hospital up to the gravity system that goes to 13, or we can send the other 2 pumps or all the pumps either which way into the force main for pump station 15. So it really gives us a good option. We can operate 1 pump, operate the station while we're working on other things, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good add-on, and just adds to wet weather, winter operations. If the force main pressure is too high, we can run it up to a gravity system. So a good operational adjustment there. The line maintenance crew, we had a request for mutual aid, which was for the Larkspur Corte Madera School District. They were having a continued sewer issue, backups onto their baseball field, into their bleacher area where the kids were playing. They had plumbers out, couldn't figure it out. So they requested us, reached out to Steve, and we went out to go see what we could find. Come to find out, they have a couple collapsed laterals. We found a manhole that was kind of in disrepair on our end that we repaired to help them out. We flushed their lateral, cleared them out. There's no current backups at the school at this time. So we cleared them of all of that, gave them a little CCTV data, told them what repairs need to be done. And hopefully they'll be reaching out for a permit soon to get that stuff done.
Is that still, I mean, that's a private school, but in an old public school building. Is that public school building still owned by the school district?
Yes, that's right. It's
Okay.
leased out to the Marin Primary School.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it would be the public school district's responsibility to be maintaining it.
Yes.
Okay.
And then just so you know, after that, after we went and cleared their lateral, we also went back and did some dye testing to figure out which way they have about 4 laterals on the property, ever which way. So we're designing a lateral card for them so that we know and they know exactly where their laterals are at that school, and for better maintenance and service in the future.
Is the school district responsible for that as the landlord? Yes.
Yeah, ultimately, yes, right. Yeah, and that's where we probably get our funds from.
Check from.
Yes,
We build a
depends
district.
on what their agreement is.
Right.
I see.
Yeah, that could depend. That's true. Ultimately, yeah, we worked with both. We worked with Evan von Blankenberg from the district, who's kind of the landowner, and then we worked with the facility staff there at Marin Primary. So it's very cooperative and filled an information gap, I'll say.
Yeah.
In terms of where things are flowing between their buildings and our system. So it is really good. A good opportunity. I thank Paul and staff for jumping on this and approaching it in a partnership fashion.
And it keeps the kids from marching around in the backup. So it's a win-win. And then repair crew, they found over off of, East Ward Street near the bike path, the American Legion Hall. They found a 16-inch abandoned pipe coming into a manhole that was just full of dirt and old bricks and water coming in. Come to find out, it's abandoned. So they found a 16-inch tap that was just pouring infiltration and dirt into our system. So we located that, plugged it up, concreted it off. So one less cause of spills and whatnot in our district. And then condition assessment, doing their good work that they also always do. They found a big grade 5 void over off of Jordan Avenue in San Anselmo that was about to collapse, and reported immediately utilizing the supervisor review function. Got repair crew out there and put a nice big patch over it to bulk up our system and make sure we're whole with no more spills. And with that, if there's any questions or you guys have any other bullets you'd like some information on?
No, it does good though.
Thank you.
I like the repairs.
Thanks very much, Paul. All right, with that, yeah.
Do you want to introduce our new person here?
Oh, well, I met Austin. To whom would I be introducing him? To everybody?
To the whole world. The world.
Austin, I'm not remembering your last name. I got
Cho.
I got so focused on the first name. Austin, Texas, and Austin Goolsby were the two things that came to mind. Nice to have you with us, Austin.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone doesn't know, with Andrea stepping into a new role at River Partners, we've established a protocol where I'd be filling in this role now, which, notwithstanding her actual shoe size, these are large shoes to fill, but I look forward to working with Steve, Felicia, and Christina and all of you to just learn the ropes and get the hang of things. I've been with the firm for 10 years, and right from when I started, I've worked with Andrea on substantial Ross Valley matters. So I'm well versed in many of the issues that you run into, and I've helped Andrea work through a lot of the Larkspur Landing surplus land issues and other matters that have come up. So I'm just happy to be stepping further into this role and getting to know you all and work with you.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you. All right, with that, we're adjourned until May 21st at 5 p.m. Thanks, everybody.